The Royal Hawaiian Hotel had been abandoned for over a decade. As someone who loves to explore urban areas alone, I decided to visit at night to avoid the intense heat of the day. Getting there was easy. I parked on the side of the road and walked in. There were no fences or guards, making it one of the most accessible places I've ever explored. There was a deep pool in the back that was covered in graffiti. When I shined my flashlight on the hotel, I saw that many of the doors to the upper floors were either ajar or broken. It was a creepy sight, but not surprising since the place had been abandoned for so long. Part of the hotel appeared to have burned down. While exploring outside, I heard a woman's voice nearby. Fearing that it might be a security guard or someone causing trouble, I hid in one of the ground floor rooms and turned off my flashlight. After a minute of silence, I continued exploring. Inside the rooms, I saw old furniture, graffiti on the walls, and trash. Suddenly, I heard noises from above. I decided to check the rooms upstairs, thinking it might be an animal or another explorer. As I walked down the hallway upstairs, I heard constant banging on one of the doors. When I called out, the noise stopped. I peeked inside with my flashlight off, and I was sure I saw a person at the end of the room. When I turned on my flashlight, I saw 2 white feet approaching me very quickly. I shined the light up and saw a woman with a bloody forehead and a yellowish substance in her mouth. She looked like a nightmare. I ran away, hearing her scream as I ran. I called a friend, George, and we figured that she had hit her head on the wall, which is why her forehead was so bloody. I wanted to call the police, but I didn't want to admit that I had trespassed. I finally called the non-emergency number and anonymously reported the crazy woman. I don't know if the police investigated, but that encounter was one of the most terrifying experiences of all my years of exploring. A few years ago, my family moved to a small town about a 4-hour drive away from where we lived to get away from trouble. While my parents were busy looking for a new home, I invited my friends and cousins along for a road trip. Our destination was Bryce Hospital, a psychiatric facility known for its ghost stories and dark history of abuse and torture of mental patients. We decided to leave at 11 p.m. to arrive around 2 a.m. The drive was fun, filled with laughter and jokes. But as we approached the building at 2:43 a.m., people started to have second thoughts. The road leading to the hospital was overgrown and pitch black. The building loomed before us, its roof rotting and covered in vines. We parked the car and began our exploration. Entering the house, we saw pentagrams and strange symbols spray-painted on the walls. We climbed the difficult stairs to the roof. While looking around, we saw a flashlight-like light, but when we called out, the light disappeared. My cousin led us into another room, but I broke away to explore a nearby room. Suddenly, I heard a small sound like a rock hitting a window. I returned to join the group, and we decided to go down to the basement. The stairs were broken, making it difficult to get down. While resting, we heard a voice. My cousin carefully approached the source of the voice. Following the light of the flashlight, we saw a man squatting and facing the wall. When my cousin backed away, the man let out wild screams and rushed towards us. We quickly crawled through the window and ran into the woods. We got lost in the woods but eventually found our way back to the car. As we got closer, a rock suddenly hit my friend and the man emerged from the bushes. We ran back to the car, locked the doors, and drove away in a panic. The man smashed the car door with a glass bottle, the sound echoing in our heads all the way home. No one said a word on the way home. That terrifying trip ended our love of urban exploration forever. This story took place when I was 15 in rural Georgia. My older brother Seb was 18 and loved exploring creepy places and had heard about an abandoned house nearby. He didn't want to go alone, so he invited me to come along. We parked in a secluded spot and walked along the overgrown path that led to the house. As we walked, we noticed a woman following us. She had a smile on her face and her hands folded behind her back. As she approached, she said, "It's a beautiful day, isn't it?" We responded politely and walked faster. Then she said, "I have to go to bed now," which made us speed up even more. When we looked back, she had disappeared, probably into the woods. We entered the house through a broken window. The house was full of old furniture and rotting food in the refrigerator. After exploring the first floor, we went down to the basement. Suddenly, we heard a banging sound from upstairs. We ignored it, thinking it was just the noise of the old house, and decided to check upstairs. As we explored upstairs, we saw the woman from before standing in a bedroom. She was still smiling and asked, "Do you want to see what's behind me?" My brother yelled and pushed me to run. We rushed out of the house and didn't stop until we were far away from it. We never found out what she was hiding behind her back or why she was there. But that encounter left us terrified and full of unanswered questions. After escaping the house, we found a safe place and sat down to catch our breath. We were both shaking, our hearts pounding. I asked Seb, "What do you think she's hiding behind her back?" Seb shook his head, his eyes still filled with terror. "I don't know, but I don't want to know." We decided not to tell anyone about this experience, afraid that they would not believe us or think we were crazy. But from that day on, every time I passed that street, I always had a creepy feeling and could not stop thinking about that strange woman. Who was she? Why was she there? And what was hiding behind her? These questions still haunted me, making it difficult for me to sleep well for a long time. A few weeks after that event, I started hearing strange noises in my house at night. At first, I thought it was just my imagination due to stress, but then the noises became clearer and more frightening. One night, I woke up to a light tapping on my bedroom window. I tried to look outside but saw nothing. The next morning, I told Seb about it, and he also admitted that he heard strange noises in his house. We decided to find out the truth. One evening, we decided to return to the abandoned house to look for more clues about the woman. This time, we were more prepared with flashlights, phones, and even a knife for protection. When we arrived, we felt a chill down our spines as we entered the house. The first floor and basement were the same, but as we went upstairs, the atmosphere became more oppressive. When we entered the room where we had met the woman, everything was still quiet. But suddenly, from the darkness, the woman stepped out, still smiling creepy, and said, "You're back. Do you want to see what's behind me?" This time, instead of running, we decided to confront her. I asked, "Who are you and why are you here?" The woman just smiled and slowly reached behind her back. Before we could react, she pulled out an old faded photo. The picture showed her, a man and a child, all smiling happily. She said, "This is my family. We lived here before everything changed." She began to tell the story of her family. They lived happily in this house until one day, the man in the picture lost his mind and killed the whole family, including her and the child. Her spirit could not leave this house and she was stuck here ever since. We felt heartbroken and scared at the same time. When the story ended, she looked at us with sad eyes. "You guys go away and never come back here again. Live a happy life and don't let the tragedy like my family repeat itself." We left the house without saying a word, our hearts heavy with the tragic story we had just heard. From that day on, we never returned to that house again and always remembered her words.